Today we're in San Diego, California, and we're going to be doing something that, despite it being around since the 1800s, not a lot of people, including locals, know about. And we think it's probably the best travel deal in the city. And also a lot of fun whether you're a local or just visiting San Diego. So right now we're in downtown San Diego at the Broadway Pier, and this is where we're going to be catching the ferry to Coronado today. Now you can also get it from the San Diego Convention Center, but we're going to be taking it from here at the Broadway Pier. So let's head over and grab some tickets. You could buy tickets for the ferry either online in advance or right before you board. The ticket booth is located right next to the entrance to the Broadway Pier. You'll want to use the ticket booth for flagship cruises, which offers a number of different cruises that range from around $30 to $100. But what we want is the ferry tickets, which are tucked away in the corner of their prices and are only $7 each way. The tickets were only $5 last year, but like everything else, the price has gone up recently. Then the entrance to the ferry is right next to the ticket booth. The ferry boat is the Cabrillo, which is billed as the oldest working wooden ferry in the United States. I mentioned a bit earlier that the ferry service dates back to the 1800s, and I'll get into that history in just a minute. If you have your bicycle with you, another cool perk is it doesn't cost anything extra to bring your bike on the ferry. Once you get inside, you'll see a number of bicycle racks right near the entrance. You could sit inside the ferry if you like as well, but there's plenty of seating upstairs on the deck where you'll get the best views of the bay. Though inside you do get the advantage of seeing a list of the captain's picks for the best movies about the sea. And here's the seating on the upper deck. Immediately once the ferry takes off, you get a really good view of the USS Midway, which is now a museum, and you get to see it from an angle that you don't normally see it from. The ferry takes about 15 minutes to cross from San Diego to Coronado, so you're basically paying $7 for a 15-minute bay cruise, with some great views of downtown San Diego and Coronado's North Island. The ferry service between San Diego and Coronado, which is sometimes incorrectly referred to as an island, started in 1886. The first ferry boat was a steam-powered side paddle that cost $15,000 and could carry 600 people and 13 horse teams. Eventually horses gave way to cars, and the ferry boats began transporting cars across the San Diego Bay. It's said that the first ferry boat between San Diego and Coronado later went to Argentina and then began working on the Amazon. The ferries would shuttle people across the bay until August 2nd, 1969, when the Coronado Bridge opened for use. The ferry wasn't forced to close because of the expected competition from the bridge. It was just that California has a state law that says no ferry can operate within 10 miles of a toll crossing, and when the bridge first opened, there was a toll to cross. In 1986, 100 years after the ferries began operating, the Coronado Bridge was paid off and the toll went away, allowing the ferry to make its return after a 17-year absence. The returned ferry service was only for pedestrians and bikes though. Cars have no choice but to take the bridge. Crossing the bay and taking a look back at San Diego, it's hard to even imagine what this would have looked like had you taken this trip in the 1800s. And after a short 15-minute ride, we've arrived in Coronado, where things are a lot different than the downtown San Diego we just left. We've made it to Coronado. Now that we're at the Coronado Ferry Landing, there are a ton of restaurants and shops to explore, and there's even a park with some historical markers to check out. One of the first things you'll notice when you arrive at Coronado Ferry Landing is a beach, which is definitely something you won't find in downtown San Diego. Despite being a San Diego native, I believe this is my first time at the Coronado Ferry Landing, and I'm pretty impressed. There are a number of different restaurants here, ranging from things like Burger King and delis, to mid-range options, all the way to some places that look much more pricey. There are also a number of souvenir shops, and even some shops where you can rent bicycles and kayaks. That's really cool because Coronado is very bike friendly, and having a bike would definitely help you explore more of the town. As a matter of fact, as neat as the ferry landing is, if I only had one day here, I'd rent a bike and head off to the heart of Coronado. Still, if you're in downtown San Diego and just want a quick change of scenery and a bunch of restaurant options, and a nice boat ride as well, the ferry landing is a pretty good choice. If you forgot to buy a return ticket in San Diego, or if you're starting out in Coronado, you can find a ticket kiosk at the ferry pier for your return trip across the bay. Just a couple hundred feet away from Coronado Ferry Landing is Centennial Park. The park gets its name as it was created in 1986, which was the 100th anniversary of the ferry service. The park is the site of the original ferry landing in Coronado that you would have arrived at between 1886 and 1969. There's even an original ticket booth towards the entrance of the park with a few historical plaques. As you get closer to the ocean, there is another plaque, this one honoring Coronado as the birthplace of naval aviation. A flying school opened in Coronado in 1910, and Navy Lieutenant Theodore G. Spuds Ellison was one of the first students, making him the first naval aviator. At Centennial Park, you can also get one of the best views of downtown San Diego across the bay. The view is amazing at night. So that's our look at the San Diego to Coronado Ferry and Coronado's Ferry Landing. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and we'll see you next week.